Hi, I'm Ed Sheeran for track 8 on Deezer, and we're going to be talking about my song No Strings. Track 8.
'Cause this is no strings, you are who I love, and that won't change when we're falling apart. Yeah, this is no strings, you are who I love.
It was on the coast in England. In January, there is nowhere in England where you will get any form of tropic weather. It's bleak, cold, rugged, but it's beautiful. I was in the studio and we were sort of working on some tracks with Aaron, and most of the record was made instrumentals that Aaron had already made. So he'd made them in his studio beforehand and he'd sent them over and I wrote over, and then we recorded them. But when we were recording them, there were a couple of songs like Dusty and No Strings that came in the recording process. We were I'd finished doing vocals and I was like, should we just try and write something and see what happens? And Aaron sat down at the piano and just started playing chords. We were by the English coastline, the seaside. The piano was here, and then there was sort of a step up here with a massive window that looked out onto the sea. And I just remember pacing back and forth on that as Aaron played and just having lyrics.
But this is no strings, you are who I love.
I can listen to a song, an instrumental, and I hear melodies and cadences in it, and then in those melodies and cadences are lyrics. So sometimes I'll sing a melody and it will sound like a lyric, and then I'll be like, oh, well, that's the lyric if it's naturally sounding. I wanted to write a song that was hopeful, but also like acknowledging all the other stuff on the record. So the first line was, if we make it through this year, then nothing will break us.
If we make it through this year, then nothing can break us.
You acknowledge that the year was difficult, but if we get to New Year's Eve on 2022 and 2023 starts, like, we've done it. That was the sort of origins of the song.
Trouble leaves then reappears, but we've shown we can take it.
When I got married, my dad said to me, marriage is like obviously strong, you're in love, but your marriage won't get tested until there's grief and sickness and things that you have to work through, and when you can get through that, you know you're solid. And I remember at the time being like, oh yeah, of course, but I didn't imagine it so soon. And when it happened, you know, and you get past the first hurdle and the second hurdle and the third hurdle, and you feel your relationship just getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, to a point where, like, me and my wife have been through, you know, so much in a short space of time, that I know that even in the long run, in the long space of time, we can always look back to this time and be like, but we got through that, so we can get through anything.
If we make it through this year, we should celebrate it.
It was just a mortality check last year. You know, the health scare with my wife and my friend dying was like, why are we pushing things off? Like, why don't we just go on holiday next week? And that was pretty much what we did. You know, my wife had the operation and we'd just had our kid, and we basically said at the end of this, we're gonna fly away and go on holiday and celebrate the fact that this part of our life is hopefully over.
'Cause this is no strings, you are who I love, and that won't change when we're falling apart.
And then when it got to the chorus, I remember me and Aaron sort of talking about the lyrics of it, because I started singing "This is no strings, you who I love, and that won't change even when we're coming apart." He basically changed that to "It won't change when we're falling apart," because it was currently happening.
We did not fight for love, just to let it be defeated.
I think a vocal, it's like a muscle, and you wouldn't run a marathon without training every day. But yeah, I have a weird relationship with it, because all of my peers do vocal warm-ups and really kind of, you know, they don't eat spicy food or drink coffee or eat chocolate before gigs and stuff like that. And I think because I started in a pub circuit when it was legal to smoke inside and there was no dressing room, so I would be at a pub table surrounded by people smoking with a guitar waiting to go up on stage, and then I go up on stage and play, and then I go back and sit down. My voice was always just trained to be not in good environments and get used to smoking and get used to drinking and get used to not vocally warming up. And I sing every day as well, so I don't lose my voice that much. The only time I lose my voice is if you go out to a bar and there's loud music and I talk over it. You usually talk at this level and you sing at this level, but then if you're in a bar, you shout at this level. So the only thing I do after gigs is not go to bars. I sit in a dressing room, I drink a bottle of wine, and that's kind of it. I remember the end of no strings. I just remember not believing it was that special, which happens a lot when I make songs. I don't necessarily always trust my own ear, so I remember writing this song, finishing it and being like, yeah, I guess, and then going back to it months later and being like, oh, I think this is my favourite song on the album. Things are just meant to be sometimes. You know, like when I wrote Perfect, I didn't go into the studio and go, I need to write a ballad. I was in the studio working on a theme tune for a medieval TV show, and the engineer was like, we've got 4 more hours that you've paid for. And I was like, well, I should probably just sit and write a song. And then Perfect came. It just happened by accident. It was just, I was in the studio playing these chords, the melody came out and the song was done. It just takes years of practice. I've been writing songs since I was 11, and for every good song that you hear, there's 50 that are shit, that you get to a point. There's artists in the world that paint pictures and they discard them, and they paint pictures and they discard them, and they paint pictures, and that's what songwriting is. You only hear the good ones.
Strings, you are who I
Thank you. Nice one, guys. That was great.
go in pains.